Our top story, and there is nothing official about it, but a cold war is brewing over cold food between the ICC and the BCCI. This came after Team India was served cold DIY sandwiches, fruit and falafel after an intense 3-hour practice session in Sydney. Are these starry tantrums, or is Team India and every team that is playing in the current World Cup, T20 World Cup, deserving of a hot meal in cold Australia right now? Let me go across straight up to Syed Kirmani, who's a former cricketer, joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Kirmani, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. Can I ask you, I know you're smiling and you're in a cold place, so you probably will know the value of a warm meal in a cold place, but okay, all right. But are Indian cricketers throwing a starry tantrum?
Now, you see, we have also got cold food when we were touring around Australia in the cold weather. Now, it is very important. Now, there is a support staff with every team which goes around, right? So there's a dietitian also who orders the food wherever they are. They say, okay, we want this cold and we want this hot food, Indian food. They supply all that. I was wondering as to when I read that cold food and snacks and sandwiches were provided to the Indian team after the nets, I was a little surprised. What was the dietitian out there doing? What was the manager doing out there? They should inform. Okay, after our nets, we need hot stuff, hot sandwiches, or hot dog, whatever is available out there, it should be organized. That's how it should go. Apparently, to me, there was no communication there, and that's how they were provided. Because the Australians are used to cold stuff. They are cold, by and large, they are cold-blooded guys up there, right? And so that's how we are hot-blooded, and we need hot stuff, So yeah, that's how it should have been. And why make such a big issue about this? When it's your fault. You should have informed. You see, why didn't you inform? I don't know how far they had informed.
Here's what the ICC is saying, and of course, no one is saying anything officially, sir, in this matter, because for obvious reasons, no one wants to put out an official statement. But what the ICC is saying, that the rules are the same for everyone. There is a rule book that has been issued, and the rule book makes it very clear that after a practice session, this is what will be served. After a match, this is what will be served. Then why throw up a fuss now?
You see, it should have been clarified before itself between the ICC and the BCCI when they had mentioned in the rules that whatever is available or cold stuff would be provided to all the players. No, we should have put our foot down and said, no, we are not used to your kind of food. Because the foreigners, when they come in touring our country, they have their cold stuff ordered in the 5-star hotels, and the ICC people or the English board or the Australian board, they come down and taste the food, what they're going to be provided. See, this is how they organize themselves. And we should have also, BCCI officials, whoever has communicated or whoever is in touch with the ICC, should have told. They should have said, no, we want this to be put according to our liking. So this is how things would have been arranged. Apparently, this communication, there was a big gap. According to me, I don't know the inside stuff, what all has happened between the BCCI and the ICC, and it's a pity that in a cold, where it is pretty cold out there in Australia, I was told, hearing the comments of Ashwin, in Tamil, he was saying how he went into bat and how he faced and how he won that great stroke, winning for the country. So on those on those basis, I think they have to put their foot down and say, from now on, we want hot stuff after the nets or during the match.
Mr. Kirmani, can I just, before I let you go, ask you this question? Someone who's been a professional cricketer for a long time, has spent a lot of time away from home and family and home meals. Just how important does food become for cricketers who are touring abroad? I mean, what value does it bring to sports people who travel for such long durations?
Shreya, what you said just now was echoing. I couldn't follow that very clearly.
Mr. Kidmani, I'll repeat my question to you then. I'm asking you that for cricketers like yourself who have had to travel, to foreign locations and be out on tours and away from home for such a long time, what value does food bring to your life when you're touring? Why, a lot of people can say, "Arey, what mudda is this? How does it matter whether they got cold food or not?" But I want to understand from you the value food brings to cricketers who, travel for such long durations.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make that out at all. There was a lot of distortion in what you were talking about. I couldn't hear anything except your distorted sentences, which I couldn't make out what you said. I'm sorry about that.
Don't worry about that, Mr. Kirmani. We'll just leave it there then. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us a sense into what you think has gone on in the making of the current controversy that is playing out. So we'll just leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. I believe you were joining us from the United States of America. Let me quickly go across to our guests who are joining us this evening. Niranjan Shah is a former secretary of the BCCI. He's joining us on the broadcast. Krishore Rungta is a former honorary treasurer of the BCCI with us. Nikhil Sharma is a sports commentator. He's an author. And Vedam Jaishankar is a sports journalist. Hi, everyone, and thank you for being with us. Mr. Shah is waving to us very sweetly. Nikhil, can I just quickly come to you first and ask you this? Are we making a mountain out of a molehill? Is this Team India throwing a starry tantrum? They clearly are the stars. We understand that BCCI contributes 75% to the ICC's kitty, so they really are the stars, can afford to throw a tantrum. But, is this pushing things a bit too far? After all, Australia or the ICC can simply turn around and say, "Aur kisi ne to nahi complain kiya, why are you complaining?"
Well, cricket is a big business now, and nutrition plays a very, very important role as far as sports people are concerned. So yes and no. Are we throwing a tantrum? I don't think there's an official complaint about it. However, nutrition plays such an important role. As the legend Syed Kirmani was saying, I think there is a huge logistics and a communication gap in the whole episode. And that's what I believe has caused this uproar. As he said, as he mentioned, there are lots and lots of support staff with the Indian cricket team. I believe it's just, they had a big game against Pakistan on the 23rd. On the 23rd, they have a game tomorrow. So, they didn't have too much of time. They haven't really spoken to the ICC about their specific requirements. Apparently, their training ground is quite far into the Sydney suburbs. And that's why they would have had a 2.5, 3 hour session. I don't know the details. It would have started late. And by the time it got over, it would have been almost lunchtime. ICC would have prepared whatever they offered to India. They would have offered to everybody else. It would have been it would have been previously provided to the setup, to the management, that this is what we will give you. However, once they finish their session, and especially right after training, you want to load yourself up with the nutrition and the recovery food. And that's where they would have found out that the food that they wanted is not there. And I think food is also important for the soul. Not the bad food, but some nutritious food is also very needed for athletes. And I don't think they would have liked those cold sandwiches and falafels and fruits. They're all good, for recovery till the time you get back to your hotel. Good food, but I don't think the Indian team would have relished that a lot. Also, it was an optional training sessions. The quicks were not part of that training session. So some of the guys might have complained, but I think overall, Shreya, it was a problem of logistics and communication gap. Your Indian cricket team, you can carry chefs with you. Chefs can give you food. All of that is not a problem. So, whether ICC provides you the right food or they don't, I'm fairly sure the Indian management could have arranged it, but it's just a question of, bad timing there.
bad timing there, and I'll get to the Indian management. We have two people who have represented the BCCI in the past, but before that, Vedam Jaishankar, what our reporter who tracks sports tells us is that the big problem was not just the fact that these were cold sandwiches and fruits and falafel, which is pretty actually normal and regular lunch for the Australians. But what upset and got the goat of the Indian team was the fact that these were DIY sandwiches. Ki kheera rakha hai, tomato rakha hai, and you go and make your own sandwich. Which is why I asked the question, was this a starry tantrum?
Yeah, actually, we've really come a long, long way. India and Indian cricket has come a real long way. One of the juniors used to make chai and things like that for the cricket team earlier, and they would call him Maharaj. The main batsman used to come and say, Maharaj, make me a cup of tea and things like that. But we've come a long way, like you said. And I don't know if there's a culture of making it yourself here. But let's look at it this way. Cold cut foods may be a delicacy in that part of the world. We don't deny that. But that's not something that we really like. And when I said Indian cricket has come a real long way, you must understand that somebody like Bishan Singh Bedi was actually banned from cricket for one test match, because he wanted a little more money for the entire team. What is this little more money? They were paid £3.50 per day on a tour of England. And then the board said, we will increase that after a lot of agitation. We will increase it to £5.70 for 10 days. And he said, either you pay me for the whole thing or don't pay me at all. And because of which he was banned. So that is the background. We used to look forward to, hosts in maybe Western countries, host taking the Indian cricket team out for lunch or dinner or whatever. But things have changed now. Somebody like Kirmani, who came in earlier, or Gavaskar, who is there, understand that culture, because that was bad at those days. But since then, it's moved on. Maybe it improved during Rahul Dravid's time, but it's far, far, far better now, where, like as somebody earlier said, we need to think of diet, we need to think of food, we need to think of good food, nutritious food. It's not just soul food, but we also need to think of good nutritious food, especially when recovery is so quick. And that's why the BCCI really needs to look into it and see if they can, really empower the country, the team. I'll just get back to one small thing. During the Seoul Olympics, that was the first time that the American basketball team, the professionals in the American basketball team, represented their country, and they were staying in that village, and they didn't like it. I think it was Magic Johnson or somebody who said that if he put his hand out from the bed, he would reach the toilet bowl. It was so cramped for him. They were used to huge luxuries, and the team moved out. So I think India also needs to take a leaf out of this, not get distracted by this. Your primary focus is to play the game, and the board and all the people in the support staff must do everything to ensure that the players are in the right frame of mind and not worry about transport, about laundry, about food and other things. But like you said right in the beginning, food is a very, very, very important part of that entire ecosystem. And we need to ensure that our players get the best of food. And let's not kid ourselves. There's no way these Western powers are going to do what we want. It's better that we look after ourselves.
Niranjan Shah, then, was this a failing of the BCCI more than the failing of the ICC?
See, I think the issue has been unnecessary. We can be big. It's not a very big issue of food. I think generally our players are they always carving for Indian food. And it's sometimes like Australia, or you are going to New Zealand or something. Generally, this type of food they serve every time. But I think we must arrange some Indian food so carving is there in our players, and they will be satisfied. They need something our taste. I think this is the main thing. And and now ICC also, I think ICC has failed to take what is every team has something they need for their carving, because they are going for the long tours and they need some their own food. I think that ICC must emphasize on that. And ICC.
But Mr. Shah, but Mr. Shah, okay. We understand the craving for Indian food every time we are abroad. I mean, in 3 days, you could be traveling to France where supposedly you get the best food in the world.
No,
But in
but
3 days, Indians will,
wherever
you know,
cricket is there,
will want matar
Indian
paneer.
food
I
is
understand that because we all feel that craving when we go abroad. But, you know, Kishore Rungta, the question is this. If as Mr. Shah is saying that, you know, and everyone has said, look, we need warm food. The Indian team likes Indian food. Obviously, it's a taste of home. You're traveling away from home for such long periods that, you know, Indian food should be arranged for them. I mean, look at the BCCI's challenge then. The Indians and the Pakistanis will say they want, you know, Indian type of food. The West Indians will say कि हमको हमारे घर का खाना चाहिए. Then other teams will start saying we want our, you know, food that
So what
that
is
resonates
wrong?
with our
What is
taste
wrong
buds.
in there?
So the
Just such
BCCI
a
will
huge
just arranging fees for
competition, huge
you know,
money is
for the
involved.
teams
What
and
is
not
wrong?
actually getting to the business of playing.
What is part of the
Kishore
whole?
Rungta, would you want to
because
come in here as someone who was the former honorary treasurer of the BCCI? There is no, Mr. Shah is saying, what is the problem? There is so much money in cricket now, so much money that every team can actually afford to carry their own personal chefs. In fact, carry one personal chef for every member of the team. But my question to you is, the ICC then becomes, you know, is in a tough spot. How many types of food can they keep arranging?
not too many types, but they know exactly there are only in world 10, 12 team playing World Cup. I think it's not a bad idea if they arrange some food which satisfy the carving of the each team. So I think ICC can manage that. ICC has lot of money,
Okay.
and they are spending so much money on their staff and everywhere. Why not? I think they have to see.
Okay, Mr. Rungta, would you like to come in here? Can you hear me or not?
Look at it.
Mr. Shah, give me a minute.
Okay.
Give me a minute. Let Mr. Rungta come in here. Mr. Rungta?
According to me, at this point of time, while we should be celebrating the lovely victory against Pakistan, we are raising absolutely non-consequential issues. In my opinion, there is a complete communication gap. Rules book are very clear of the ICC, where these things have already been taken care of. The Indian board should have raised these questions at that point of time instead of making an issue out of that at this point of time. In any case, this is a very, very small issue according to me, because it's the first instance of its kind. So you sort out sitting in the ICC instead of going into media and talk to them whether they will be able to provide the Indian food or not. If not, we can make our own arrangements. There is absolutely no problem on that count. But Indian team should feel comfortable. That's what is more important than making ruckus out of the whole issue. This was the first time that it has happened, in my opinion. And if I call back, when the Indian team, when the foreign teams visit India, we have also held several matches. Normally we communicate with them, or their team manager communicates with us as to what kind of snacks would be served to their players. That communication was missing in the instant case. And because this is a World Cup, there are several teams, it's not a bilateral tour. So there is 8 teams or 9 teams or 12 teams, they have to be served different kinds of foods. So you should have communicated. The rules books are very clear that common food will be served to all the players, to all the teams. So why exception could have been made in case of in the case of BCCI? And as I said earlier, BCCI ought to have communicated, the team management ought to have communicated that this is the kind of food. I am sure ICC would have considered to that, failing which you can make your own arrangement, play cricket, and don't raise these issues which are totally unnecessary in my opinion.
Nikhil Sharma, here's the question I want to ask you, and it's something I've been thinking about. This is not the first time, of course, that Team India is touring Australia. You know, in a tournament. This is not a bilateral series. I understand this is a World Cup. Not the first time it's happening there. I'm assuming that Team India has been served cold sandwiches and falafel and fruit in the past as well. Can you make any sense of why this has become the controversy that it has become? Now, it may be Batkat Batangar, you know, it may be a mountain out of a molehill, but the fact is that it has happened. The fact is that not just food, the Indian team has also refused to practice because the practice venue that was allocated was 45 minutes away. The story was leaked to the press as well. because all major publications have carried it. What do you make of it? Yes, probably the BCCI is at fault, but there has to be some logic to why this story was leaked to the press in the first place.
Shreya, I can't quite find what the logic might have been of this story going out. As far as both those things are concerned about the food, I think Mr. Rungta has put it out very, very clearly. The fact is that, ICC has a single rule. This is a practice food that they're providing, which might or might not be lunch. I don't quite know whether they listed it out as lunch. Why is it DIY? Because some people, nowadays, a lot of people are allergic to a lot of things. So you might have tomatoes, you might be allergic to it, or whether it's avocado, whether it's cucumber. It's just so many things out there for elite athletes. You have at least 3 or 4 people who are directly responsible for your food. Your sports scientist will be responsible. Your physio might look into it. Your doctor might look into it. Your dietitian with the team might look into it. The coach might look into it. As far as I've known in professional sport, the coaching team is very, very particular about food. So you can always let the host know what is exactly that you want. When teams travel for matches in ICC or otherwise hosted tournaments, they're always very specific. This is the food that we want post-match, whether it's a test match, what do we want in tea, what do we want as refreshments. So I think it's just a question of communication. Sydney, they don't have too many cities. If you're hosting the World Cup, the SCG is gone because you can't be training there. So you will have to find alternate venues. Blacktown is slightly further away. You have a match coming up against Netherlands. A lot of teams are facing a lot of injury concerns at the World Cup. So you don't want to take chances. You travel, you train, you come back, the recovery might not be good. So there is a chance that the Indian team has kind of said, hang on, let's do some gym sessions in our hotel, or let's do some recovery sessions here. We necessarily don't need to go out there and risk things. Food, I think, shouldn't have been that big an issue. Had it been an hour, 2-hour session, the hotel is close by, the guys would have said, let's go back and have food at our hotel. It's just that maybe the ICC didn't know they're going to have lunch. They prepared for, because it's not that simple. You'll have your ice baths, you'll have your fluids and a lot of other things. So I just think, I don't know why such a hue and cry has been made for an issue like this. Sure.
Vedam, I have 20 seconds to go, but the thought that crossed my mind is that we all remember pictures that came to us from Uttar Pradesh of an under-19 hockey team, I think it was, where the food was served on toilet floors, etc. So that it happens to other sport, but not to cricket, where everyone in Team India is a multi-billionaire and BCCI is the richest board in the world. Before I let you go, any last thoughts on the story playing out? I think all our panelists agree that this was Baat Ka Batangar, this was this was a mountain being made out of a molehill. But hey, the story is out, the story has been reported, so it was our duty to report it as well. But any last parting shots, Vedam?
Yeah, see, from what we hear is this is not the first time it's happened. They had the same problem in Melbourne too, but it was not addressed. And especially when you come to key events like this, you need to be focused all the time. There is a certain amount of focus now on the weather in Australia, because Australia has seen more rainfall than anything else in the past few years. So I think there's a focus, a little bit of attention is on the weather. But when you have something like that, every 2%, 3%, 5% difference will make a lot of difference to the entire outcome. Everybody is looking for that edge. And I think when we the BCCI actually needs to ensure that the players have the right frame of mind. They need to look after everything, not just the food, not just the transportation, not just the practice facilities, but each and everything. And like I said earlier, we have come a long way. And we need to show that we really have come a long way by looking after the people who are going to bring us laurels. We need to not just, I would say, pamper them, but we certainly need to look after them for every minute detail. That's my impression.
All right, we leave it there, but what we certainly know is that the ICC needs to up its food game. We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you, Vedam, for joining us. Nikhil, thank you very much. Kishorji, thank you very much. And Niranjan Shah, always good to have you on the show. Thank you very much. On that note, I'm slipping into a quick break here on the show, but news and updates continue. Do stay with us.